And welcome back to SWBA Today. And in today's episode, we're going to be looking at the SWBA scoreboard and looking at the games that took place yesterday and the key storylines out of those games. We're also going to be looking at some current news that just popped up here going into today's games as we find out that John Morant has been fined 75,000 M's. And so we'll be talking about that. We'll also be talking about the Cleveland Cavaliers and are they headed to the SWBA finals. And so let's go ahead. Let's start with the scoreboard and just recapping the games that took place yesterday and really looking at the key storylines out of those games. And so, look, I will say this before we jump into each game. Out of the 6 games that took place, all the road teams won yesterday. So it was a good day for the road teams. And so that is key number one out of yesterday's games is that, look, all the road teams handled business. And so with that being said, let's go ahead. Let's jump into the scores. And so let's start with the Orlando Magic beating the Washington Wizards 109-97. And look, quietly, the Magic, I think that they've gotten healthy. They are currently 7th right now in the Eastern Conference. They're right there in the play-in situation for sure. It's just all about just the seeding for them. But I think that they're finishing off very well. And I think that you're seeing a young Magic's team maybe picking up where they left off last season. Remember, they were a tough out for the Cleveland Cavaliers. That series actually went 7 games in the first round. And so we'll be talking about the Cavs in a moment. But in this game, you had Ben Carroll, who had 33 points. He also had 8 assists and 15 rebounds. So he had a huge day. He was +7. And then when you look at Franz Wagner, look, he had 27 points, 5 assists, and 5 rebounds as well. And then another strong game here from KCP. So here's a player that's coming over from the Denver Nuggets, bringing a ton of championship experience. And so this is also critical for the Magic that he starts to play well down the stretch. And so he had 13 points in this one, 5 assists, 2 steals. He was +5 in the plus-minus box score. Look, for the Wizards, it's all about this upcoming SWBA draft. But what I will say is I was very impressed with Bub Carrington. I just talked about him. I think that this young man is going to be very good, for this team. And I think he's going to be a very good player in this league. He had 32 points. He had 9 rebounds and he had 7 assists in this. And like I said, this guy, if you have not got a chance to see him, I think that he could be, a triple-double pretty much on a night-to-night basis. And then A.J. Johnson, I just got done talking about him and really why I liked his game. Watched a lot of his stuff there in the SWBA Summer League last year. He had 11 points in this one, 4 rebounds and 2 assists on 4 of 10 shooting. Like I said, these are 2 names that you're going to want to really start to play or pay close attention to, as both of these players are going to be very good, I think, in the future. And so next up, the next game that we want to take a look at in this 6-game slate yesterday was the Milwaukee Bucks and the 76ers. And so look, Giannis had a monster day against the Sixers. And so Giannis in this one, 35 points, 20 assists, and 17 rebounds, +23 in the plus-minus box score. I mean, that's tremendous. I don't think that there's been too many triple doubles like that where you've had 20 assists like that. So Giannis, man, he played extremely well. Taurean Prince played very well too. 13 points in this one. He was +2 in the plus-minus box score. Got a good contribution here from Brook Lopez, who had 17 points, +9 in this one, 3 blocks as well. And so that was a good game for him. And for the 76ers, look, you're looking at a team that, they are very much looking forward to this upcoming draft. I do think that the one bright spot that they're having down the stretch is Quentin Grimes. And so Quentin Grimes, if you don't know him, he's a player that's bounced around. He was with the Knicks, used to play for Houston at one point. I think he was a teammate too with Jamal Shead that plays for the Toronto Raptors there. Both of those guys were very good with the University of Houston, but he had 24 points in this one, 10 assists. He had a steal. He was -29, but look, he has been a very bright spot for the 76ers. And actually, he's been one of the better players playing down the stretch here in the SWBA. And so next up, we got the Minnesota Timberwolves versus the Brooklyn Nets in this one. And so, look, the Timberwolves take care of business. And I think really the key storyline out of this is that Anthony Edwards was going up for a shot. And it was incidental. He fell back on the Brooklyn Nets head coach, and it was a bad twisted ankle, it looked like. He left the game. He came back in the second half, and look, he performed very well. So he had 28 points in this one, plus 17 in the plus-minus box score. He had 5 rebounds. He had 3 assists, 2 steals as well, and a block shot. Look, there's not anything that Anthony Edwards cannot do. Super efficient from the field. He was 5 of 10 from deep, 10 of 15 from the field in 32 minutes. And so that was huge to see him come back. They also got Naz Reid coming back as well. And so Naz Reid, he was in that scuffle with the Detroit Pistons there. So he came back from that suspension. He had 13 points. He was plus 9 in the plus-minus box score. He had 3 assists in that one. And the Nets, look, it's all about them playing hard. I think that is something that you have to give them a ton of credit for, is this is a team that continues to play hard, even though they are out of everything, and they're looking forward to the upcoming SWBA draft. Nick Claxton played very well in this one. He had 18 points. He had 5 assists and 6 rebounds. He was 9 of 10 from the field. And this was all about the Minnesota Timberwolves getting a big win as they continue on to their playoff hopes. And so next up, we are talking about the Minnesota Grizzlies and the Miami Heat. And so this was probably the game of the night because it came down to the final moments. And really what it comes down to is Ja Morant hits a game-winning shot over rookie here, Khalil Ware. And look, that was pretty much it as the Memphis Grizzlies pick up a huge win there. But we'll be talking about what happened here after that. And so Ja Morant in this one, 30 points. He had 5 rebounds. He had 3 assists. He was plus 3. He was 11 of 22 from the field. You had Jaren Jackson Jr. with 13. He had 4 rebounds. He had 2 blocks as well, plus 5. And then Desmond Bane, 17 points. 9 rebounds, 6 assists. And so, look, if the Memphis Grizzlies are going to do anything, they need to have contributions from their main big 3. And then just want to point out that, look, Zach Edey played well in this one. Didn't have a ton of points, but 8 points in this one, 13 rebounds, and assist. He also had a block shot in this one, and he was plus 2. I think he's had a very good rookie season. And Scottie Pippen Jr., look, he might be maybe the pickup of the year here in the SWBA. Another strong game for him, 17 points, 7 assists, and 2 steals. Definitely love to see him playing very well. 6 of 9 from the field, 3 of 4 from deep. This guy, man, he can hoop. And so it's good that Memphis has definitely found a great player off of the bench, but they get a huge win against really a hot Miami Heat team. So we've been talking about just how they've been hot over the last couple games. And look, the Heat were right there, just couldn't get the stop. And so Khalil Ware, even though he got the game winner scored on him, 13 points, 15 rebounds. He had 3 blocks. He was plus 1. I think that he's probably one of the better players to come out of this last SWBA draft. You had Bam, who scored 26. He had 7 rebounds, 5 assists, and a steal and 2 blocks in this one as well. And Tyler Hero, look, he's been on fire. 35 points, 9 rebounds, and 4 assists for him, plus 1. And so a tough one for the Miami Heat, but still they're right there when you're talking about the play-in situation. In fact, they are 9th. And so, like I said before, it's all about the seeding between the Miami Heat, the Atlanta Hawks, and the Orlando Magic. So I think between all 3 of those teams, they're right in the play-in situation, and it's all about just where the seeding is going to finish here. And so next up, the next game of the night is going to be the Portland Trailblazers versus the Toronto Raptors here. And so, look, this was all about the young players in this game because neither one of these teams are necessarily going anywhere. Although I will give Portland a lot of credit because they actually are still hanging in the midst of things. I mean, they're currently 12th in the Western Conference. And look, there's a real possibility they could maybe sneak in and get to that 10th spot and maybe get a play-in situation. It would literally take the Suns and the Kings to fall apart. But to make it clear, The Portland Trailblazers, they're 12. They're at 34 and 43. They're 6-4 over their last 10. They've won 2, including this game where they take care of the Toronto Raptors. And so I think that Shaedon Sharpe, look, I think he's been a very solid player for the Trailblazers. I think that he's starting to figure some stuff out. He had 36 in this one. He also had 7 rebounds, and he also had 5 assists. So just really showing what he can do as a playmaker and just also to a scorer. And then when you look at Denny Avia, he continues to play very well. One of the better players, I think, right now playing down the stretch in the SWBA. He had 26 points in this one, 15 rebounds and 6 assists and 2 steals and 2 blocks. And so for the Washington Wizards fans out there, well, there you go. Here's a draft pick that you just let get out of the building, and he's playing very well. And so on the other side of this thing, when you look at the Toronto Raptors here, RJ Barrett played very well. He had 18 in this one, plus 4. He had 5 rebounds and 4 assists in this. And then Jamal Shead, I just talked about him, 10 points. He had 3 assists and he had 2 steals as well. I think that as he continues to play for this team, he could be an impact player for them. There was no Emmanuel Quickly in this game, so he did not play. Scotty Barnes, 5 points, 5 assists, 1 steal. I think that this is maybe the second night out of the consecutive games where I've seen where Scotty Barnes just really hasn't been a factor for this team. But either way, look, I think that they're focused on the lottery at this point in time. And the Portland Trailblazers, look, they're still playing some meaningful basketball. And even if they don't get in, I think that this is something that could translate for this team next season. I think that when you start to build these winning habits, I think that this is something that Coach Billups will definitely welcome as this team continues to build out. And so next up, the Warriors versus the Lakers here. And so the Warriors take care of the Lakers 123-116. And let's look at just Steph Curry and what he was able to do first. He had 37 points in this one. This guy was throwing up no looks off of the glass and getting fouled. So Steph Curry doing Steph Curry-like things. But more importantly, got to the free throw line 14 times. So he was 13 of 14 there, 10 of 21 from the field, 4 of 11 from deep. He also had 6 assists, and he was only a -1 in the plus-minus box score. And I think the next player that you really have to give a ton of credit to is going to be Brandon Przinski. I think that he was tremendous. I think at one point in time, he didn't miss a shot, including just a crazy half court into the buzzer at the second quarter, into the second quarter shot that he hit that was amazing there. So 28 points there, plus 5. I mean, this guy was playing with a ton of juice, just a ton of swagger out there. 8 rebounds. He had 6 assists, 10 of 17, 8 of 10 from deep. I remember one play where he was running down off of the fast break, no rebounders, just pulled up and just nothing but net. So he was playing with a ton of confidence. Jonathan Kuminga, look, I think that this is maybe one of the better games that I've seen since he's come back off of the bench. 18 points, 9 rebounds, and 4 assists in this one. He was +9 in the plus-minus box score. Draymond Green just doing Draymond Green type of stuff. He got a critical steal late against Luka, doing those kind of things. And so hopefully he gets to his 10th, I think, all defensive team, if I'm not mistaken. I think he's going for double figures there. And so 8 points in this one, 5 assists, 11 rebounds. And so Draymond doing Draymond stuff. Jimmy Butler, look, it was a bit of a slow game for him. 11 points, 4 rebounds, and 2 assists and 3 steals. But still, this team is awfully tough to beat with him out there. And I think the story here out of this for the Lakers is just Luka struggled because he was only 6 of 17 from the field. He was 0 of 6 from deep. He did get to the line 7 times, made all of those. 19 points, 8 rebounds, 7 assists, -3. LeBron, look, he was on in this one, 33 points, 9 assists, 1 steal, 1 block. He was super active out there, 10 of 15 from the field, 5 of 8 from downtown. And look, Rui Hachimura, I think that he played very well, 24. He had 6 and 3 assists, so I was very impressed with him, along with Austin Reeves, man. Austin Reeves, man, he's quietly taking it to another level. He had 31 in this one. He had 6 rebounds. He also had 3 assists, and he was +2. But I think the bottom line for the Lakers, they just don't have enough front court depth, and I don't like that with this team. And so a good one for the Golden State Warriors as they take care of business. And now we move into the current news here in the SWBA, something that just came out here today. And shifting over to the Memphis Grizzlies and Ja Morant. So we talked about them being the game of the night with Morant hitting a big shot to win it over the Miami Heat here. But it looks like that the league has fined him $75,000. And so if you've been paying attention to the story, this first came up on, I believe, Tuesday night when they played the Golden State Warriors, if I'm not mistaken. And there were some hand gestures that were done. So not going to go into that. Between him and Buddy Hield, they got double technicals. And I believe they were warned about it. And so in literally 4 minutes into this game, you see that Ja Morant does the same type of hand gesture. And essentially the league came back and they fined him $75,000. And so here's what I'm going to say about that. I'm going to stand by my point yesterday in saying that the competition committee is probably going to change the way that players are able to celebrate and do different gestures and things like that after they make shots. I think that that's number one. That will probably happen. Just guessing. Then number two, I think that if I'm the GM, right, of the Memphis Grizzlies, and going back to that, look, Ja Morant is certainly a top 20 player. He is. But you have to ask yourself the question, is he going to be a guy that is going to win multiple series for you? Can he stay on the floor as far as being healthy? And then also, too, is it going to be a situation where you're going to be dealing with these type of things moving forward? Because it could become a real distraction for this team. And this is a team that is really trying to battle its way back right now. Look, you've already fired a coach, and that's kind of come under some scrutiny, especially since Coach Jenkins had really been successful with this Grizzlies team. I talked a little bit about just how the team had already started to move away from him and firing a lot of assistants before the season really started. And so you're dealing with that. You're trying to figure out if this core is going to be able to make it out of the West. And then you have to deal with these things. And so I just think that as a GM, you have to ask yourself, he's in the second year of, I believe, $175 million contract. And just, are you going to have him as a long-term piece? I think that that's something the Grizzlies have to ask themselves. I said it before. I think that if I'm the GM, I'm certainly picking up the phone and I'm listening to the offers, because I don't know, as currently constructed, if he could be the guy that's going to take us to the next level. But again, he had a phenomenal game in this last game, but he did get fined the $75,000. And so just in my guess, I would think that moving forward next season, you are going to see that gestures and certain things are not going to be allowed from players after they do certain things in games, make shots and stuff like that. And so next up, the next thing that we want to talk about here is going to be these Cleveland Cavaliers. And so, look, just got a chance to kind of looking at the feedback, and you guys hear me often talk about the standings and talking about, what I'm thinking here. And I never really necessarily do a deep dive here, but I wanted to dive a little bit more into the Cleveland Cavaliers, who have certainly had a phenomenal season thus far at 61-15. And just the question of, why not with the Cleveland Cavaliers? And so let me start with point number one with the Cleveland Cavaliers. And it starts with Donovan Mitchell. Okay. And I have to ask myself this. With Donovan Mitchell probably being, I think, a top 5 to top 10 player in the SWBA, do I feel like he's going to be a player that is going to lead this franchise to a championship? Does he get them to the finals? And I'm thinking, no. I've seen this movie before with the Utah Jazz, and it didn't happen. And it really, to be honest with you, the team is kind of constructed in that way where, still you have Donovan Mitchell, who is the main star. You have like another good player or two, and then you have several role players that are going to have to really step up and just play at another level in order for this Cavs team to make it out of the Eastern Conference. And so, look, I love Donovan Mitchell, have always loved him since I got a chance to watch him live at the SWBA Summer League. And so I've been definitely following him. But here's the thing that really worries me about him. Since entering the league in 2017, I believe now he has the 5th highest usage rate in all the SWBA. And so that means this. The Cleveland Cavaliers are going to really put a lot of high usage rate on Donovan Mitchell going into the playoffs, and the playoffs get tougher. Okay. And I want people to understand that what you see in the season, you're not going to see in the playoffs. You're not going to have teams that are coming off a 4-game road trip and then they're facing you. No, 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 no. You have a team that is focusing on you. All right. For 7 games, they know your sets. They know exactly what you want to do. And so with the high usage rate that you're going to have on Donovan Mitchell, you have to ask yourself, can he hold up? He had knee injuries. He had a calf injury. He had hamstrings and things like that he's dealt with. And I think it comes down to just the high usage rate. And so that's point number one. We're talking about a high usage rate. Let's say that the Cavs continue to do that. Teams may load up on him and say, okay, we'll have you use all your energy and then we'll take everybody else away from you. And then where does that leave the Cavs? All right. And so that's going to be the question. Or what you do is this, and you say defensively, all right, you want to use him a lot. What if we then take him away and make the others beat us? All right. And so that is something that I'm not sure the Cavs necessarily have the answer to. But I tell you what, we're going to find that out when the SWBA playoffs start off. The next thing that I want to talk about here, and point number 2 as to why I'm really questionable with the Cavs and really taking it all the way, is going to be their spacing. I think that is going to be really a major issue for me, because when you're talking about Jared Allen, this is a player that is very dependent on guys table setting for him. That means that Darius Garland, you're going to have Donovan Mitchell, just about all the guards, they're going to be really table setting for Jared Allen. You're not going to get Jared Allen the basketball and say, go get me a basket. That's not his game. And I love Jared Allen. I would take Jared Allen on my team any day of the week because I love what he brings from the center position. But now when you're talking about a player that cannot create offense for himself, and then we're talking about the playoffs slowing down, the floor is going to shrink a little bit. That means now we're going to have some more pressure that's going to be added already on the shoulders of Donovan Mitchell. And that also means that is going to be added pressure on Darius Garland and then also to Evan Mobley. Those guys are going to have to play phenomenal to really take away what the defense is trying to do as far as shrinking the floor. And so now we're talking about a game that is slowing down, and I will give the Cavs a lot of credit because last season they were 24th in the SWBA as far as possessions and creating those possessions. And so what they are now is they are top 10. I believe I was looking at a stat where at one point they were 6th. And when you're talking about pace and generating shots, like they're getting more shots, right? And so that's why you see the wild offensive scores and things like that, because they're getting a lot more shots at the goal. And so I think that slows down in the playoffs, and that's where I worry about them. And then next, here's another thing that I worry about with them as well. So as good as the Cavs have been, right, and just really kind of cutting teams up and things like that. Look, I was looking at a stat back here in January where they were playing some of their best basketball. At the time then, they were 27th in total passes per game. And so that is a concerning stat, because that means as good as the Cavs were doing at that point in time, they're playing their best basketball, they're still not moving the basketball enough, which suggests that the basketball could stick. And that means that's going to play right into the hands really of some other teams that really they're going to have to really worry about. And so, I've talked about those 3 things. I do want to give the Cavs some credit here because you can get caught with the Cavalanche, so to speak. And that's where they go off on their, their point sprees and just kind of light you up and things like that. Because here's one of the things that I find interesting about this team. Look, they had the 4th highest average margin of victory in SWBA history with 11.69 points. And that was according to StatHead. And so that was behind the 72 Lakers. That's behind the 71 Bucks. And that's behind the 1996 Bulls. And may I remind you that all those teams went on to win an SWBA title. And so that's why if you are a Cavs fan, if you are a believer, you go, hey, they're an elite company. And I can tell you, as a person that covers the Chicago Bulls and as a person that watched that 1996 team, look, that 1996 team, yes, it had an elite Michael Jordan. It had a Scottie Pippen. Yes, it had Dennis Rodman. But they also had Tony Kukoc. They had Steve Kerr. They had Luke Longley. Like they had players that could definitely go out there and just really impact the game other than just the star players. So I think that that's something that you have to factor in with this Cavs team. Do they have enough? Because I don't know if I can honestly say that the role players that they have in Dean Wade, Sam Merrill, George Niang, Max Strus, Isaac Okoro, if those players are going to be able to shoot the basketball as well as they have been in the SWBA playoffs. It's one thing to do it in the season, but it's another thing to do it in the playoffs. And so, the next thing that they have going for them is they lead in points scored per possession, or they led in points scored per possession. And so that's another reason, like, if you believe in them, they had the third most since the ABA and SWBA merger in 76. And so if you believe in them there, look, that is it. They're showing you that, hey, they're going to be able to score some points now. Can they score some points later? And then lastly, I'll give them credit with this too. With the offense, when it is clicking, when it is flowing, they were top 10 as far as catch and shoots were concerned. So that means that you're driving, you kick out, they're shooting the points per. They were getting some good points off of that. And, teams ahead of them were the Boston Celtics, which really lives off of that. And so I personally still don't believe in the Cavs when it comes down to the playoffs. I don't believe enough in Donovan Mitchell if he's going to be able to make it happen. I don't think that they have a great enough third scorer that is going to really help them. And I also worry with this team as far as perimeter defense. We didn't talk about that, but do they have enough at the wing position that is going to slow down Jason Tatum? Does it slow down Jaylen Brown? Does it slow down the Knicks, who got Mikal Bridges, and then also to OG Anunoby? And then also you have to think about this, the size advantage and the way that they've been beating teams up in the Eastern Conference. When you look at the Pacers have Miles Turner. They have Thomas Bryant. They have Jarris Walker. They have Obi Toppin. The Knicks, they have Mitchell Robinson. They have Karl Anthony Towns. Like, you have teams that can go out there and they can match up with you from a size standpoint too. The Celtics, they have Horford. They have Porzingis. Like, they've got some players that are going to be able to match up with the Cavs in their front line. So anyway, let me know in the comments here what you're thinking about the Cavs. Do you truthfully believe that, you know what, this is going to be the year that Donovan Mitchell and the Cavs are going to make it out of here and they're going to get to the finals? Do you think they're going to get to the finals? Do you think they're going to win the SWBA championship? Love to know what you're thinking here. Lastly, let me know too what you're thinking about this situation with John Morant, and let me know what your key takeaways were from yesterday's games. And so anyway, as we always say on this program, see the game, be the game. I will see you guys on the next one. All right, peace.